AGWEEK weather is sponsored by Bremer Bank. Connect with a banker today at bremer.com.
Is a chance of rain on the horizon? Here's John with our agri-weather outlook.
We're undergoing a pattern change. It's really quite an important shift here for the northern plains in particular, whereas the summer started out very warm and very dry in places like North Dakota, northern Minnesota, and even some parts of southern Manitoba. It has turned rainy, and it looks like that will continue as June turns on into July. And the fairly hot weather in the northern plains, considerably above average for May, and the first half, 2/3 of the month of June, is now cooling down a little. It's not going into a cold pattern. It's still a little bit warmer than average, it looks like overall, but not as hot as it has been. Now, the hot and dry weather is shifting. We've seen it really bubble up in Texas over the last couple of weeks. That is now beginning to spread into many areas of the corn and bean belt, and that's where the heat wave will really start taking up residence in this area. And this area will likely dry out as well. Jet stream pattern, kind of a split flow pattern, as is typical this time of year. Here's that hot weather in Texas really building up, 90s and even some stray 100s down there. But a lot of the midsection of the country still looking at 70s and 80s, and mostly the high side of 70s and 80s. So this is a pretty warm pattern all the way up into the boreal forest of the Northwest Territories. A lot of Alaska is fairly cool. Another cool section is up around Hudson Bay through Ontario and Quebec. Most of the nation, though, fairly hot. The Southwest is heating up, but that's typical for this time of year. And really, Texas, Oklahoma, into Kansas, Missouri, for this area to have consistently 90-degree heat is hardly unusual as June turns to July. That is exactly where the heat is going. The jet stream pattern continues to favor troughiness in the northeastern U.S. and generally rigidness in the western U.S., and that gives us northwest flow, and that's beginning to converge finally into some stormy weather in the northern plains. It's been absent, shifted a little further to the north, but now it's coming back in, and it does look like, well, I'll show you the precipitation pattern in just a bit. As we go into that first full week of July, a little wave will come out of the northern Rockies and spread another round of thunderstorms into the northern plains. That will keep the hot weather squelched a little further south, Texas, Oklahoma, up into some parts of the corn bean belt. May get into some consistent 90s in early July. Not really unusually hot, but definitely the area where the weather will be warm. Now, as far as precipitation goes, fairly widespread showers and thunderstorms will continue across North Dakota to Minnesota over toward the Great Lakes. The eastern seaboard will continue to be showery, and a few spots of the northern Rockies. The first week of July, it still looks rather stormy. Not rain every day, but good chances for rain during the week in the northern plains, the Gulf Coast area, and we'll confine that to the far northeast. The rest of the country, dry to nominally dry, particularly right here through the Midwest.